Well, Nick Collier here again, and as you can tell, we're not in the machine shop section of my studio workshop, but the jewelry section. I had a woman come in, oh, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and she cruised through the studio section, which is where you're at right now, which has all of the play stuff. I get to come in here and goof off when I in between projects. And so she spotted a bracelet that she just loved, and she loved the stone. And here's the bracelet here. I'll bring it in close so you can see it. And it's in gold, but she couldn't afford the $2,800 it was going to cost for the gold bracelet. She says, well, can you make me one in silver? And I went, well, I could do that, but you know, the stone is different. So she says, but I really like this stone. And I says, well, we could pop this stone out, and then I could just kind of make this into something else, and we could make it out of silver. But it's going to cost you extra. And she went, oh, I don't care about extra. And so we kind of struck up a deal, and we're going to make one of these in silver, except I never liked how tall this stone was off of the bracelet, so I want to bring this stone way down low so it's nice and kind of more streamlined with the bracelet. So we're going to be a jeweler today. I made jewelry for 35 years. Also at the same time had a little machine shop that I just kind of goofed off in, and just in the last 10 or 15 years I've been kind of bringing those machinist skills back into play, and being out there more than in here. So hang in there with me. We're going to have some jewelry fun today. Well, when I was in full run with the jewelry business, I had every shape and size of silver and gold that I needed to you know, just continue to make the products that I was making. But that was 15 years ago, and maybe even longer, 16 years ago. 2001 took out my jewelry business. 9/11. That next year we made I don't know, 1% of what we normally made going out and selling my jewelry. And so it was time to shift gears. But so now I've kind of trimmed down over the years of making a little piece here and a little piece there to very little silver left. Now, you know, I've got a roll of silver, but the sizes are limited. And so what I've started with is this honking piece of what looks like about 6 gauge. And we're going to roll this down, and what I want to come up with is about, I don't know, not 14, but 12 gauge maybe. So about half the size of this. Now what we're going to do is run it through the mill first, and then we'll pull it through a draw plate. Okay, so let's do a little mill work. Alright, that's a little too close together. There we go. And that gives us, it's starting to square it up a bit. And I don't know if you can see it, I'll bring it in close. And you can see that there's just a little bit of a rib right there. So what we do is we put the rib in, with facing the rollers, and so it gets rid of that rib. And then we go down to the next size and roll it again, and then come back putting the rib facing the rollers, and the next size. And silver's great stuff because you can just keep doing this all day, and silver just kind of rolls with the punches. Now after a while it gets a little stiff, but it never actually goes the way gold goes. After about 3 or 4 pulls like this, gold will start cracking up and falling apart, or at least 14 karat gold. So we probably could run this through another time or two. go. I'm thinking one more. Oops. Okay, now we've got a basic square. We're looking probably at about 10 gauge at this point. So what we want to do is sharpen the end like a pencil, and then we're going to take it over to the rolling mill, or I mean not rolling mill, but to the draw plate, and draw it down to a circular shape. All right. And I always have my catch tray under here to catch all the little groovy grumbles that fall off of any kind of silver or gold project. This is my silver tray. My gold tray is over on the other side of the table. All right, that's going to give us a little bit of a grab. Let's see what we've got here. Yeah, it'll go through there. That's going to do just fine. It'll come all the way down to there. It's going to come even all the way down to there, so no problem. Let's go out to the shop because I can't do this pull without a vise, and I don't have any vices in here. So we'll be back. Okay, so we're out here in the shop part with oil pumps and machine projects, and we're going to set up our draw plate. Basically, the draw plate has a series of holes in it that are tapered, so that when you pull the wire through here, it kind of squishes the wire down and pulls it through the hole. And then you go to the next size and so on and so forth. So we're going to put that in the vise, put a little lubricant on it, and for silver and gold it's wax, good old beeswax. Just rub a little bit on the surface. Okay, so that's probably where we want to start. That one's going to be an easy pull. And then second. And then third. Okay, this is where it gets hard. And it looks like it's pulling some metal, so we're going to put some extra wax on. All right, ready? Whee! That's a tough one. Okay, we'll get this through and then we'll take it back into the shop, or maybe we could just use the torch out here and anneal the rest of this, because it's pretty stiff at this point. I mean, you can keep pulling silver down to nothing, but it gets hard to do. Ouch. Okay, there we go. We'll just put this in the vise, bring our torch over. Maybe we'll rotate just a little bit. There we go. Nice, easy, soft flame. Start in. Nope. Start in at the top, and basically we're just going to heat this until it turns kind of a cherry red. There we go, or maybe even just a dull orange is plenty. Oh, there, start to melt just a little bit, but doesn't matter. Basically what we're doing is just getting the silver molecules to relax enough that we can pull it through again and again. And as soon as it pulls through, of course, the molecules pull laterally along the path of the pull, and it starts getting hard again. There we go. Almost there. I think that ought to do it. Now, while we're still fairly warm, let's go ahead and put some wax on this. And I'm going to take this over and drop it in the water. I'll be back. All right, next. I guess we better pull through the right way, hadn't we? All right. So we still got a bit of a taper left on this. Now watch how easy it pulls through. Well, of course, that was the same hole. Here's the next one. Boom. Easy peasy. 2. And I think what we're probably going to do is reheat it every third pull, just because it gets so hard. Now we got just about a full round here. Just a little bit more. And now it's also time to go and trim this back to a point, because we're going to go down to smaller sizes, and of course the point's not going to fit. It'll just barely fit on that next one. So we're going to go file that down, and we'll be back. Okay, we're now working on the next row. And I always get the plate in right close to the holes. So, because if you do it like this and you're out here and you're pulling on it real hard, you can bend that plate. I mean, it's hardened steel, but it's still bendable. And so best just to kind of put it in sideways, have lots of support, and get it down as close to that hole as possible. So we're going to go to the next run here and pull and pull again. And you might notice this thing's getting a bit longer. Well, that metal's got to go somewhere. Okay, here's our third pull. Ready? Okay. I think we want to go down just a little bit further. All right, let's just get a little bit wider view of this whole process. We're gonna, you might not be able to see this part, but as we get further down. All right. Little wax. And let's take it over and cool it. Draw plate back in. You know, I mean, it would be so much easier just to call the supplier and go, hey, send me some 12 gauge. All right, so at some point that battery went out. Hopefully you saw the annealing process. We've got this metal very relaxed. It's very flexible. It's going to be easy to work. So we will take this material and we're going to make a frame. And we've got her, hang on a sec. My customer, she was here for a day, or not even a day, just a period of time, and saw the bracelet and was like, fell in love with it. That one there, of course. And so she wants it in silver, but she wasn't sure about it at the time. So she called me probably, oh, I don't know, a week later and says, oh, now I'm sure, I really want the bracelet in silver. And I said, well, so what's your wrist size? Well, of course she didn't know. So what I did is I whipped together just a really fast, you know, just a piece of shit bracelet, about the same size and about the same size of her wrist that I thought. And I says, okay, here, try this on, use it, maneuver it around till it gets just right on your wrist, and then send it back to me and tell me how much of a gap it needs right here. And so she put this little piece of tape on here, and we were supposed to have a gap this size, which is, I mean, just a little bit smaller than the actual size we've got here. So we're going to go with that. We'll put that right there for now. There we go. So I'm seeing about 1/8 of an inch smaller on both sides there. Well, actually, if you look at it carefully, can you see it? This side, it comes down further. So I'm going to add a 1/4 inch to that side. Nope, the other way. I'm going to add a 1/4 inch to this side, which will give me the circumference and make it centered. So a 1/4 inch to that, we have to kind of figure this one out on the fly because I can't unbend it because this fits her wrist perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to find an inch right there. We're going to take my dividers and run them out an inch right there. We're going to start on this side here and we're going to go 1 inch, 2 inches, oops, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 6 inches. And we are at, where's that line? Okay, there it is. And it looks like we're at exactly 7 inches. Because we want to add a quarter to it. Well, maybe 6 7/8. Okay, so 6 7/8 inches. And what I've got here is a piece of 20 gauge sterling, and turns out that this is all I have. And I want to go to 24 gauge, and so let's see what we've got distance-wise. We got 5.5 inches. We want to add an inch and almost a half. So I'm thinking we can do this without too much trouble. We're going to, let's see, where's the bracelet? There it is. We're going to add that to there, and then somewhere in that general area is our outside perimeter. So let's make a mark. Just using my finger as a guide here, and just straight down. Makes it quick and easy. And with jewelry, the cool part about jewelry is that nothing is accurate. It's just kind of visual. I mean, there are some accurate jewelry approaches, but not this one. So we're going to take this over and cut it, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, a pretty quick cut. We're just going to drop this in the shear and run it up against my stop there, and trim that baby off. And we got 20 gauge right there, and I think what I want to do is mark this. I should have cut it from the other side, but we can just mark it. 20 gauge. Okay. Spin you around here, and we're going to right there steel wool this 20 gauge until it's nice and clean. You always want to have clean metal when you're working with silver or gold, really when you're doing any kind of welding, but especially silver and gold, because it'll pick up contaminants so quick. And silver tends to tarnish. I mean, it'll oxidize within an hour. It'll start oxidizing. So you know, you don't ever want to go into a weld with silver that's even slightly old. I always steel wool it before I work it. Okay, that's a good start. Now let's take it over to the rolling mill and do a little bit of rolling. All right, well, you'll notice that this is a different rolling mill than the one we used a few minutes ago, and this one's got a little bit of corrosion on it, which is not good. But it's been sitting a long time, so. And this particular mill is just a straight flat mill. And you can run flat stuff through here. So we're going to run that, and we're just going to keep running it down until we come up with 7 inches. And I'll bet you we've added an inch to that already. We're at 6, and we were at 5.5, so that adds a half an inch to it. All right. And and we're looking at 7 inches right there. So that last roll added an entire inch to this thing. So it's kind of straighten it out just a little bit. Yeah, nice. All right, let's go back over. All right, so we've got our wire, and hopefully that's 14, 15 inches long. Let's have a look and make sure before we start messing with it. 12. There's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 inches. I think we got plenty. So, I think what the first thing to do is kind of get all of the little kinks out of it. And get it as straight as possible. There's a little bend right there. That looks pretty good. A little bit right there. All right. Come on. There we go. Getting there. Sure, a lot easier than taking kinks out of stainless steel. Alright, I think we got pretty much what we want here. And it's still kind of warpy, but all the major kinks are gone. Mostly gone. That's not bad. Okay, so we got a reasonably straight piece of material, and notice how this bracelet comes down and rotates around and kind of gives you a nice little round at the bottom there. So what we're going to do is start with that round, and I think what I want to do is get rid of this bottom part, which is the taper, and we'll drop that into our little scrap bin tray here. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I don't know, there might be a little bit of wax on that. I'm going to take it up just a little bit more. All right, that's good. Now, take a flat pair of pliers, and the key with any jewelry project is don't mess up the metal, because it's very soft, very fragile, so you want to kind of bend it without creating any kinks. So notice how I'm just holding it in one place, and I'm kind of bending it around my finger. Kind of like that. And we're going to take it all the way around to 90. About 90. That looks pretty good. And then from here, we're going to go from about right there. Let's go ahead and put a mark on it. We're going to go from about right there. Come on. right on up, and we're going to do 7 inches. So 7 inches from there would be somewhere in this general area. And let's do 7 1/4, just because we're going to be making a bit of an arch. And let's go ahead and mark it. And that's where our next bend is going to take place. And what I like to do is put it down on here. See how this is sticking up just a little bit? So let it rotate so that it's totally flat with the wood. And then we can start rotating it around, and it's going to be consistent with the other one, maybe, sometimes. It's always a sometimes with jewelry. See, look, not even close. So I just take and twist it a little bit. There we go. We're pretty well down. Went a little too far. That's good enough for now. All right, so we've got that. Now we're going to just bring this around, and you know, in order to not kink that, I'm just going to barely hold on to it and just bring this point around so that we can. Well, that's 18 inches right there. Oh, man, that just barely made it. What do we got here? Let's measure it. Oh, it's almost 8 inches, 7 1/2. Okay, so we got extra room. So we got a nice little bend going there. It's off just a smidge. So we'll just kind of come in. We're not gripping with the pliers, we're just hanging onto it with the pliers. Come further than we need to come, and then if we just kind of bring it back a little bit, we'll get a nice little taper going. See, there it is right there. Now, once we come up to about halfway, we go ahead and start to bend the other way. And do that on the other side. Not worrying that it's going to cross over. Something almost like that. Looks pretty good. What's our bracelet look like? Oh man, that is just about the right thickness right there. Okay, so now let's see what 7 inches looks like. So we're at 7 1/2. So we need to kind of bring this in just a little bit more so that it makes it smaller. We're just going to rotate in until we get rid of that 1/2 inch. 7 1/4. Okay, we are at 7 inches exactly right now. And we've got a nice little bend going here. We'll take this and bring it just a little further. Okay, just a bit further. There it is right there. And that is our bracelet. Let's cut it. Just a little bit long. Take our file this flat. Bring that out of the way a little bit. Alright, we're totally flat. And this back, and this back. Something like that. Just getting everybody lined up so that it's going to be a nice smooth transition. Somewhere in that general area right there. How's that look? That looks pretty good. All right, let's take it over to the welding bench and weld it up.